Welcome to this edition of One on One with Mitch Lafon. Joining me this week from the band Megadeth, it is guitarist KIKO Loureiro. He was also, or is also, in the band Angra. Their album Holy Land celebrates its 20th anniversary this year. We talk about that. We talk about Dave Mustaine, Megadeth, joining Megadeth, the future of Megadeth, and all things Megadeth, which I know fans love to hear about. First, let me remind you to check me out on Twitter at Mitch Lafon, MITCHLAFON, and on Facebook, One on One, Mitch Lafon. And with that, here is the one, the only, KIKO Loureiro. We are speaking with KIKO Loureiro, I think.
Yes.
We got it.
How are you, man?
Good.
You got it, yeah.
Perfect. Of Megadeth, of course, and Angra. You know what? I'm doing well, actually. Before we get to the whole Megadeth story, because that's a wonderful story, I do want to talk about Angra, because that's been your band since
always.
Since what?
Since I was 19. Yeah, I like 1920. And then the other guitar player from the band is Rafael Bittencourt.
Right.
And I met him when I was 17, around 17. So it was basically my whole life. As a musician, is basically my entire career, having Angra. Since the beginning, kind of co-founder.
So because you do have an exciting concert coming up in August, where you're going to be redoing the Holy Land album and get all the guys back together. But before we get to that, you've been with the band for a long time. Was it a difficult decision to go to Megadeth? Because I know it does raise the profile and so on and so forth, but at the same time, you're walking away, in a sense, from what you've been. I mean, I know you haven't left yet, but you are sort of taking time away from a band that you've been with for 30 years, 20 years.
20-something, yeah.
Yeah, talk to me about that, about raising the profile at the band on one hand, but also walking away from your baby on the other hand.
Yes, but the change, the decision, I started to do it before Megadeth. Because years ago, the band has had a lot of ups and downs, right? Great moments, great albums. I'm really proud of everything I did, and my buddies and my friends from the band. That a lot of effort, a lot of work to keep the band, playing all more than 20 years. But like 2008, something like that, 2009, we're not so optimistic, I could say. There were some moments that we're not so excited or optimistic about the band. So that's when, and also because I got married with a Finnish girl, and then I was going a lot to Europe. I mean, I'm in Europe now, so I was coming here a lot. And by the way, I'm doing this interview. I'm in Budapest, and we have a Megadeth show tonight.
I wish I could be there, but unfortunately,
it's
I'm
beautiful.
in Montreal. Yeah, it is. Great city.
Beautiful city, yeah. So it kind of, and then I wanted to, I moved to US. I was like, you know what? I want to change something in my life. So, and then I moved to California, for something to work my career, to, for something to change in my life. I think that's the way I see it now. And so I started to abandon the band in a way. I could say in this time I was not feeling that excited, And then the band got back again. We did a new album, Secret Garden, and we did a DVD. So everything was cool. But then I was already living in US. So I was kind of far from Brazil, a bit disconnected, I could say. And then came the Megadeth, the first email from Megadeth, just asking me if I could, talk to Dave and David. Was not a direct invitation. And then the first thing I did was to call the guys from the band, from Angra, and say, look, I don't know what's going to happen, but I got this email here and they want to call me So I guess there's a list of guitar players, and I'm on this list, you know. And
Do
so
you
I
know,
had,
by the way, how you got on the list? I mean, obviously the band Angra's been out there, and you can see you on YouTube, and people can sort of find you if they want. It's not that hard. But do you know how Megadeth finds you?
oh, well, I did, well, first in 2008, 2006 or something, I was in a cover of a Japanese magazine called Burn Magazine
Hmm?
with Dave Mustaine.
Right.
So there's a cover that so we were both on the cover, but actually it was not that thing because actually Dave didn't remember much about that photo session. So I think David knew me a little bit, and the management knew a little bit because the management, I think they're in California. I mean, they are in California, and I think they were like, they could see me somewhere there, I was just, around other musicians there. And I know like Matthew from Trivium, he's a big fan of Angra. And I know he mentioned me a lot. So I think maybe he mentioned to the management, and then management, uh, mentioned me to Dave and to David. And I had the opportunity 1 year before to jam with David, in a Metal Stars kind of concert. So I think it was little, different little things. And of course, all the YouTube videos. I have all the Angra years. I have 4 solo albums. And yeah.
Yeah, and it's got to feel great that all this work you've put in for 20 years, 25 years finally gets recognized on this other level, and you get that call. 1996, Holy Land came out.
Yeah.
It's sort of a monumental album for the band. It marks sort of, I guess it's sort of, would you consider it the classic album for Angra?
I could say so. There's 2 albums that the fans kind of consider, and I go with the fans.
Right.
Is Holy Land and Temple of Shadows.
Right.
Which is 2005. Yeah, but Holy Land was like this because the first album, for the ones that doesn't know much about Angra, so we did an album first in '93. So we were like 20, 21 years old, kids from Brazil, fans of Iron Maiden, metal in general. But I mean, I'm Iron Maiden because we have this 2 guitar thing and then high, the singing kind of like Iron Maiden kind of thing. Queensryche was was our dream theater.
Right.
I mean, like great musicians, sophisticated music. So we had like Queensryche as well, and all the metal bands as a reference. But we wanted to do something more Brazilian somehow. But we didn't know anybody. We got a kind of a manager in Germany. So we went to Germany to record our first album in '93. So in Germany, in Hamburg, the city from Halloween and other German bands, I think we kind of got we were Germanized, in a way, which was fine because we were not experienced at all. And then the producer, Charlie Bauerfeind, kind of put us more to this German way of doing heavy metal. And which was great because then we were gold disc in Japan. Because back then, all these bands like Halloween, Blind Guardian, and other German bands were very successful
That
in
Euro
Japan.
metal, yeah.
Yeah, this European metal, double bass and high pitch voices, so fast guitars kind of thing. So it was very good. So we were I feel a bit Germanized in a way, but was very good for us because then we were gold disc, and then we were like 21 years old, gold disc in Japan. Next album, we went to the same studio in Germany with the same producer, but then he understood us. He understood that we had a different talent, and we knew more what we wanted in music. We wanted to be more Brazilian because then back after 2 years after, we had the international experience a little bit. And then we said, you know what, to differentiate ourselves from the other bands, European bands, American bands, we have to bring something from our country. And it kind of was the same time that Sepultura put out the Roots.
Right.
And then it was kind of a movement in Brazil in general that the rock from Brazil are getting more of the traditional music and blending and mixing our traditional stuff with rock. And then it was a natural movement inside the domestic Brazilian music from the rock bands, pop rock bands. And also it happened to us and it happened to Sepultura, mid 90s. And then comes Holy Land. We talk about the mix of the Europeans and the Brazilian, the natives and the slaves. And, that's what the discovery of Brazil, the Renaissance times. So it was pretty much a heavy metal thing, telling stories from the Renaissance times, but adding the flavor of the Amazon and slaves and about the Brazilian sense that gets mixed up with the Afro sense. We kind of share kind of the same history that America, North America, in a way, with the slaves and the native Indians and the Europeans coming out. The result of this mix. And that's the albums we're talking about that. So we mix all the power metal from Europe. We add percussion. We try to sing the melodies very in a Brazilian way, the lyrics, the artwork, everything. We were not dressing super heavy metal, with the leather jackets and things like this. We were trying to do something else. And even Sepultura at the same time, they went even further. They painted, like real native Brazilian Indians. If you remember the the music videos, they went to the Amazon and then they filmed their moments with the natives and stuff. So it was a moment in the Brazilian music, in the metal music, that everybody wanted to. We wanted to prove that from Brazil something could be as great as the other bands from Europe, and America.
Yeah, and it's amazing because Brazil has this incredibly strong metal scene. I mean, you think of a few places in the world. Obviously, you think Germany with Wacken and all this. And for some reason, Brazil is like number 2 on that list of die-hard metal fans. Now, Sao Paulo on August 13th of this year, there's going to be a 20-year celebration of Holy Land with former members coming in as guests. Will you be there?
No.
No.
Yeah, that's bad, but I just can't.
Right, because you're on tour.
I just can't. Yeah, actually, it was a decision. So coming back to the invitation from Megadeth, first thing after asking my wife,
right,
and asking myself, and but of course I had I said like, wow, that's super cool. I wanna live the dream of touring with Megadeth. Of course, I'm a big fan of the band. I always loved the music, and then I knew it would be a great opportunity to live a different, to be with Megadeth in a bigger production kind of thing, and then playing different bigger places, and just to have this experience in life in general, And but then I called the guys from the band, and all of them were very excited. All of them said like, "You have to do it. You have to do it. I will do the same. Just go for it." And then last year I was doing Megadeth and Angra. I did all the dates that we had, last year. Then I recorded the album with Megadeth, and then I played with Megadeth. I did everything. It was crazy life. As I have a little daughter, so it was very bad for the family side, because I was not at home at all. So this year with Megadeth, and then, which is great as well, so I'm not complaining, because it's great to play with Angra and Megadeth. And we recorded Dystopia that was released January this year, and it was a huge success. Dystopia, in Canada was number 2. Yep. Even like Justin Bieber was, we were like in front of, it was Adele, Megadeth, and Justin Bieber, So it was funny, the Canadian kid, So Megadeth was so, in other countries, in the US, in Germany, it was like the same numbers as in the charts as Megadeth ahead in the countdown to extinction time, So it was a huge success, which means longer tour, more shows. Fans get excited, and everybody gets excited, management and the booking agents and everything. So this year we've been touring a lot, which is great because that's what I wanted, right? There's a experience, but again, I cannot. I told the guys from Angra, look, I'm a guy that I want to do well one thing, because actually, like last year, I did some shows with Angra. I remember going to Japan, coming straight from the studio with Megadeth. Was just such a change of mindset, and I was not playing that well, the songs, because it's just difficult.
Well, there's almost there's a letdown almost, because I've been to shows where I've been treated as a VIP, and you get there and everything's great, and you get the first class accommodations, which is like you with Megadeth, and then you go to a shitty club and you go, I don't really want to be a reporter tonight. This is kind of right, and I can see that happening with you. You.
Oh, actually, it's not. It was not exactly. It can be like this as well,
right,
but it was
bit
not
of a letdown.
Yeah, no, but actually, I went from the recording to Japan, and Angra in Japan is like prime, was great.
Right.
The best hotels. So there was not the shock. It was not. Could have been if we went, I don't know, to Germany and play in a shitty small club. Could be what you're saying, but it was not what happened.
Okay.
It was just like
you just weren't into
it. I was like so into recording Dystopia to do my best, and the next day flying to Japan, and the songs from Angra is not easy at all to play. So the next day I have like jet lag and stuff, and then I have to play all the songs. I didn't play well, It's like it's more the mindset, So, but I understand what you're saying too. Of course, it's gonna be different, the quality of the production, the hotels, the comfort of the traveling, all that.
So, let me ask you about Dystopia. The drummer Chris Adler came in, and now it's being said that he was just the studio drummer and he's gone. Was that the impression you were getting when you were playing guitar, that you were just here to help out and you may or may not be here later? Or did the band say, you are the guitarist, welcome aboard?
No, since the beginning, I was more like, you're the guitarist, welcome on board. And Chris Adler was always the Lamb of God drummer, and to record the album. And then because I was there inside, all the conversation, so it was always like, he's going to record only the album, but then everybody liked him and it was great. And then why not? And he was a fan of the band as well. So it was a great feeling. Why not? Maybe he can do the first show we did was, we recorded the album in May, right? The drums and guitar. Right. And then we had the first debut concert in Quebec in a festival there, the
Festival d'été de Quebec, which they call the FEC for short.
The FEC, the summer festival there was huge.
Yeah,
and 80,000
or 85,000 people showed up.
Can you imagine like your first show?
Yep.
And when people ask, what's the most one of the most difficult moments in your career, I could say that show. Although I'm very experienced. But it was just, that's what I'm saying, because I went to Japan after the album, went to Japan and toured with Angra non-stop, during in the month of July, and flying everywhere. And then on top of playing with Angra, I had to learn all the Megadeth songs. I mean, not all, the ones for the show, right? Maybe 17 songs. So I was learning this at night or during like the early flights, and it was too much for me. And then when I came home, I would have like maybe 7 days to be with my daughter, but I had to be practicing, the Megadeth. It was like I was getting super stressed. Yeah. Actually, there's a YouTube video that has me and my daughter, because the only way to be with her was like, let's play some monster music together, So I have to create some environment that she could be with me, but I had still to practice guitar.
You had to get to work. Yeah.
And
that's a tough balance.
Yeah, and then it's like I was feeling, you know what, I can. Yeah, it's tough balance. And then we went to Quebec with Chris, and then, but he was always the Lamb of God guy that wants, well, man, if he can do the show, great. As management of Lamb of God and Megadeth are the same, so they knew the dates beforehand. They could kind of just. Then we went to Japan and we did a few China and Japan. We did with Tony Laureano, which is the drum tech. He did 3 shows, and then Chris came. So it was always like that. And then Chris did the U.S. tour with us in February, March. And it was very tough for Chris because sometimes it was like flying from the Lamb of God show straight to the Megadeth, concert. We did a tour in UK that he played two shows a night. So
Yeah, and that's tough because I mean it's not sort of, I don't want to say jazz drumming is easier, but I mean metal drumming,
no, not
beats you up. So 2 shows in a night is crazy.
Yeah, man. Yes, yeah. It's too much. Yeah, it was a lot for him. It was a lot for it is difficult. So it was always like, well, Kiko, you're in the band, but Chris, he has the Lamb of God. Lamb of God is such a successful band, and they're doing great and growing. So it was not like the decision was not, I think, to take. I don't think even the Megadeth fans would love to see Chris quitting Lamb of God to be Megadeth. It doesn't make sense. So, but we had Chris. All the shows were possible, and then now in Europe was not possible. And then we had great big festivals. Download and Hellfest, and then Dirk. Chris suggested Dirk. I knew Dirk already.
Right.
And then it was great. And then finally,
and
after talking, all of, mainly Chris and Dave and David and Dirk talking, and then came to this nice agreement that now, like Dirk can be like full time with us, and that's better for everybody.
Yeah, and of course that's Dirk, and last names, man, Verburen, I guess, from Soilwork.
Yeah.
I would so love that Dave Mustaine hires a Mike Smith and a Joe.
Like a Clapton.
Yeah, it would make my life a lot easier.
Clapton. Yeah.
Do you think Chris would ever come back and play just on an album, or are we going with Kiko, Dirk, Dave, and that's it for moving forward for the foreseeable future?
I think the moving forward, but moving forward, that's the thing, But of course, Chris is friend, and it's like nothing, no problem, It's just I think this is like more was a decision of Dirk and Chris and Dave, and I think it's better for the band, if coming back, and this wouldn't work,
Yeah, I mean, you have to have a lineup.
But you have a friend,
Right.
So it doesn't mean that like can jam with the guy, whatever. It's like this is as any musician, we're always open to play, to hang, to
Right.
That's one of the ways a musician has to hang, is to play, to jam, But it doesn't mean you're gonna do an album or gonna do a tour. This is a bit more complicated. So that Dirk is the guy, No.
So let me ask you this. You started with Angra back in 92, 93. You did tours, you did Japan, you've done the whole thing. Now you're with Dave Mustaine. Do you learn anything new from him? Have you picked up something that you didn't know? Like, do you see the business in a different way? Do you see making records in a different way? Or do you sort of fit into Megadeth and you are what you are? Like, you know what I mean? Like, have you picked up anything from working with David?
Of course.
Okay.
I think every day we can learn something, And then the production side, the production, everything. Of course, I'm learning from Dave the way he conducts things and the way he does the business, and he manages the band, And even David, the way both of them work together is very inspiring, in many senses. And of course, I'm very experienced. So when I was at the studio, I had my way of doing stuff. But then Dave has his way of doing Megadeth, and I was always very respectful because it's not only the technical ways of how to record a guitar, let's say, but Megadeth has a sound, and then I don't know exactly how is the sound. So
Right.
Dave, he knows, and David, he knows. So anytime I want to understand more about what is Megadeth, I have to talk and listen to them to understand what is Megadeth. And otherwise, I can do something that is good, but it's not Megadeth, and it's not the case. So when I came to the studio, I was trying to understand what is Megadeth, Megadeth from the past, now, and also talking what Dave and David wanted from Megadeth in the future now. So I think that Dystopia was very success. It was very successful because
Right.
also Chris, as a fan of Megadeth and knowing Megadeth, and we would love to have that on the album. We'd love to have Megadeth doing this because that's the Megadeth we grew up listening to, you know. And I think that was important.
Well,
But I
okay.
was also I was studying Megadeth, listening, getting contact with the fans from Megadeth. It is different.
Now, obviously Dave knows what Megadeth is, but does he look to you to bring in something new? Does he say to you, "Okay, listen, this is the past Megadeth. We know what it is. Give me something I haven't heard before," or does he just say, "No, sit down, shut up. This is what I want you to play, and off you go"?
Well, no, the first,
Right.
he's like, show me something. Yeah.
Okay.
I think you have that, in a certain extent. Of course, not like Kiko, you compose the songs because I'm going to the beach. It's not gonna happen that.
Right. No, no,
So
no. Obviously.
he's he's taking control of the whole thing. He knows what he wants, but why not? But before that, and that happened in the studio. It was happening in the first days in the studio. It's like you have to build trust. You're not gonna let anybody come inside your house and start telling how like, oh, I don't like the color of the
No, no,
sofa.
no.
Should
Obviously,
change it.
obviously.
So I was there coming to their house. Their house they built for 30 years. I have my experience. I have my vision of things, but it doesn't mean that I know how Megadeth should be. So I was just learning, listening, and bringing my point of view in a very respectful way. So we can build trust. Like anything that I say, even if they don't use, is something that ignites some kind of a creative moment. And
Right.
that's the most important thing when you're in a collaboration environment.
Right.
So Dave has a song, let's say he has his song like 100% done, and I say, why don't you do that? Because this I heard you doing in '94. You know, I know you like that. I know this sound is Megadeth. I was just studying now, and then I know this sound is inside you. I know you like that too. This kind of thing. And then guy said, oh, you know what? Yeah, you're right. Let's try. Maybe the idea doesn't happen, and that happened a lot in the studio. Maybe I bring something, and they say no, but this something that I bring makes a third thing in a song, if you know what I mean.
Right. Right.
You have
Right.
one thing, you bring something else, and then now the song goes to a different way, just because we're trying to find a common place in two ideas, but something goes another place. Also, like there's a song that I play piano, was not intended to have any piano in the song, in the album, but there was a piano in the studio, and every all the time I was there, like going to the piano because I like to play piano. I'm not a piano player, but I like to be by the piano trying some stuff. So, and Dave said, wow, we have a guy here playing piano. Why not? And then one day I played like one idea, and it's like, wow, let's use it. And I think all this helps to the creative
Process.
environment.
Yeah.
Yeah, process. Yeah, even if you're not gonna use the idea, but having people experimenting, having people around you bringing ideas is very, very healthy for the creative process.
Yeah, and I think what you pointed out also, you had to study the back catalog. And, when you're in a band after 30 years, sometimes you forget what you did in 1984. So with you coming in there
Totally.
going, hey, I studied this, remember when, that can, of course, that's very, that probably does create some,
Totally, totally.
right.
And then I know, and with Angra, because I have this empathy with Dave many times, because Angra, even being a smaller band than Megadeth, I've been in the band for 20 something years. So I have this relation with the band. I also I forget the stuff that I did in the past. I had new members coming to the band. Have fights and problems and all sorts of things
Right.
with previous members, or new members come in and say, hey, remember, I was listening to Holy Land. You guys used to do this. It was so cool. Why don't you do anymore? I had that. So when I came to Megadeth, I was like, you know what? I can see myself there. I know it's a different
Right.
level.
You get it. Right. That's right.
I get it. So I have this empathy that I know how difficult it can be to do a new album with the new members. You don't want the new guy come and say whatever. So I was like finding my place to be very respectful to the legacy of Megadeth, but at the same time trying to bring some stuff, some ideas, something new, and saying something that I didn't agree. Finding my way to stuff, so to say things that I don't agree, let's say.
Right.
Yeah, and because I was there somehow with Angra,
Now with Dirk being announced as the full-time member, does that spark some creativity? Even though Dystopia is a major success and you're on the touring cycle, does it start getting people thinking about the next new album?
Well, yeah. Well, maybe it's too early. I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, I think Dirk is very, very great. He has such a potential as a drummer. And but the thing is also the tour is we're kind of tired now because of it being like 6 weeks traveling all over the place. We need some time off, and then we're gonna have like this 10 days off, and then we're going to Brazil, to South America. And
but are you starting to talk? I mean, are demo ideas coming up? Are you thinking?
No,
okay,
not yet.
Okay,
not yet. But we know it's soon. Something has to happen. You know.
Right. So you're not booking studio time just yet.
No. I think it's too early. We still like. I mean, having Dirk now officially announced and stuff, I think is that's great, because it's one less thing to talk about. To be worried about. Now we have like the whole South American tour coming up, and a US tour in September, October. And we're like just, thinking about adding new stuff, new songs. So making a better, optimizing the show and everything, making better lights, better sound, how to make it even better. That's what we're at now.
Right. Now, of course, a Megadeth show is always good, so I don't know how you can make it much better. In February, Dave gave an interview where he said that the most rewarding feeling is having a partner again. He called you sort of the new partner, an incredibly big compliment. How did that make you feel? And what do you think Dave meant exactly?
No, that's, of course, it's great, because it's not easy to please Dave, in a way, but it's great, man, because and it's true, we have a great relationship. I think as I were talking about before, I just kind of understand him, I understand the how difficult it is to have a band, I understand. I was there, I had a band. I had kind of to compose and to manage, and have the lineup changes, and how to keep is a difficult environment sometimes, to be on tour and do everything, and not only playing, to be a great, and he sings on top of that. So to play well, to do a great concert, to please the fans, to be cool with the fans, to think in the future, next album, and to do all the business stuff and be worried about if the light's good, the sound's good, the production is good, the equipment is working, whatever it is.
Is that a nice feeling for you to not have to worry about that anymore? Because with Angra, you were sort of
Yeah,
the
it's easier.
boss, right? Right.
Not the
One of
boy.
the
Yeah,
one of the bosses.
one of the yeah. You take the responsibility. Yeah, when you have your band, because if you stop doing it, the band stops. And then when I moved to US in 2009, not to US, I came to Europe. So I was like not taking care of as much of the band, and then the band kind of stops. It's not a business that you can take a vacation. You know,
Right.
you have to be always on top. So yeah, now it's a bit is I know if I don't say anything and then just go and play guitar, things is gonna happen anyways.
It's got to be a
Uh,
lot less stress now. I mean, you just
yeah,
have to show up and play. That's
yeah,
kind
but
of
it's not my
refreshing.
nature. But
No?
it's not my nature. No, not at all. So what happens is like I see things and I come to Dave's like, hey, why don't you do that? Why don't you, what? Let's do that. So my nature is to be this band guy that comes to see things, to that can be better, can be different. Why not? And then I feel every time I feel more comfortable to say whatever I think. I know Megadeth is great. I know they have more experience than me, and then they do in another level. But I know I can say stuff. And that's why I think this compliments from Dave, you know, comes because he said like, I have a partner. It's not like a guy just come and play, and I'm worried about. And also I come to Dave and say, hey, Dave, let's practice this part together. I think we could play better. So that's a partnership as well, because I'm not thinking only about how I sound, but how we sound. I'm trying to think in a we thing all the time, how the band is sounding, how the two guitar players, are doing. So that's the partnership side.
It is amazing to me though to hear that because sorry, you are the new guy and Dave is the veteran and it is his band. There's no denying it's his band. And I like the fact that he's letting you come in and offer an opinion because he easily could just say, here's your money, go play guitar. You're not here to give me an opinion. So that's great. I mean, that's just wonderful to hear. And
Yeah, because and well, I think people don't understand Dave most of the time. And yeah, and you have to build trust, as I said. It's not like all the time saying that, saying whatever. It's not that I'm saying stuff all the time. I'm just when I
uh,
see something that I believe it could be different, and then sometimes I say, and Dave can maybe he say no, no, but I always did like this, and I prefer like that, and I respect. Sometimes he would say, well, let's try. Why not? I've been playing guitar for a long time as well, so I can, at least in the guitar, in the music side, I think we can, and we have a great partnership because Dave has a great vision. He's the creator of the style, and the way he plays amazing in the riffs and stuff. So I can learn from that. But I was a guy that studied music. I know the names, I know the chords, I know the reason why, the whys of music. In so and then how to practice. Sometimes they come and say like, let's practice like this. I think it's gonna have a better result. And then why not? Why people would not? If you build trust that I'm here to help the band. I'm not here to.
take over or
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. I'm willing to do my best for the show to be better. So why somebody would say no, I don't want. You know, Actually, Dave is very open to opinions of all the techs, all the crew, everybody.
Yeah,
You know,
and which
probably
is good.
differently than what people think.
And
But yeah,
I was just going to say that's probably why Dystopia is so good because it 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 sort of encompasses the entire band's career and seems to take a little bit of everything and it just worked out great. Let me ask you this: when you started recording the album, you knew the history, you knew the success. Was there any pressure on you? Did you feel like, oh my God, this is too much for me? What if I'm not like Marty, what if I'm not like Chris? Or was it like, listen, I'll just do what I got to do and whatever happens, happens?
No, not really, to be honest. I have some the confidence that I could do something good, but not as well. The response was great. I didn't know, and then I think nobody never knows. When you're doing an album, I think in the end, like when they were listening to the mix, or even before, Dave was saying, "Oh, that's great stuff. We're doing great stuff." He had, this positive thinking that we were doing great stuff. I didn't have an idea what is good or bad for the Megadeth fans because I didn't know them. And I was always mentioning that. I know the Angra fans. Megadeth, I know heavy metal fans in general, but the Megadeth, what they expect from the band, I didn't know. And then that's what I was kind of trying to understand from Dave and just checking a little bit in the social medias in general while I was there in the studio. Because everything was very fast for me, the invitation and, and then maybe the first, when I met Dave, then 2 weeks later I was in the studio,
Wow.
So was too fast.
Yeah, and I'm amazed how quickly you've been accepted because fans have eras, right? There's the Marty era, there's the Chris era. You look at Kiss, there's the Ace era, and you got accepted right away, and that's just a testament, I think, to the quality of guitar playing and the album. It's just that good.
I'm amazed too because I was expecting to, and again it comes a little bit of my experience to be before in a band that we had like 3 singers, so the singer is like the hardest one. So when we changed the sing in Angra, like the guy was like Andre or like for 9 years, and then came a new guy,
right. And
I saw the pressure, and then it was very difficult for him, but he did great. But there was always this thing, the ghost that the first singer, the fans come, he's not as good as, I prefer the first guy, whatever it is.
It's tough. It's tough.
Or the record company guy comes and say, let's do a reunion. Always this thing. So I've been there, and then I understand that. So I when I came to Megadeth, I said, I'm gonna do a guitar work that has to be in the same level, technically, and the melody and stuff, same level. I don't want to be better than anybody. Just want to keep up the legacy of great guitar players Megadeth always had.
And you did
because I don't get into the competition thing because I'm gonna lose.
Right.
The competition thing, or like be worried about if the fan is gonna say Marty Friedman's better. I don't care, to be honest, because there's something is way beyond the who is better guitar player. There's like an emotional attachment when you get to know a band that you love, and the first time you heard whatever, Holy Wars, you cannot change that. And then that sound, and Marty Friedman did, and then the guy was 15 years old when he heard Holy Wars for the first time. I can play like a million times better, which is not the point. but even
but it
if
won't
I
matter.
did,
No, I know.
If it doesn't matter, because there's something, it's like I know a lot of great drummers, but when I hear Vinny Appice playing, there's something for me, because I was a kid listening a lot to Black Sabbath with Vinny Appice, and I just love it. I don't care if there was like other guys that I played with amazing drums. I played my album was solo album recorded by Virgil Donati, and then some other, or like we had playing with Dirk, with Chris.
Right.
But if I listen to Vinny Appice, for me it's like, if I see I don't know, like.
Oh no, I totally get it.
You know what I mean? It's like this.
It's
an
like
emotional
me with Ace
thing.
Frehley.
Exactly. Yeah.
Bruce Kulick and Tommy Thayer and Vinnie Vincent play great. They might even play the songs technically better. But when you hear Ace Frehley play Deuce or Detroit Rock City, you go, yeah, that's the real deal. And you just Yeah, it's emotional. There's
Yeah, it's
no
emotional. You cannot compare anymore because
no.
when it gets emotional, you get something that is not. There's no way to measure anymore.
Yeah, it has.
So, and I understand that. So I'm cool with that. So when you don't have this pressure, you don't want to be better than anybody because you're never gonna be. So don't fight for that. So my thing is like I want, and not it was not pretty much during the album. During the album, I was trying to do what Megadeth can be in 2016. That's I was trying to understand that. So what is the legacy, and what can we bring the 5-10% extra? Because I don't like when a legendary band changes totally. It doesn't. It's not good. So how to keep the legacy, how to please the fans,
But still move forward.
but yeah, and still do something that wow, that's 2016. That's not the Megadeth from 80, 6,
Yeah,
whatever.
and I gotta
So
say, it's a rare thing what you've managed to do with the two Davids, because you look at bands like Kiss and Sabbath and all that. Everybody goes, yeah, they were great in 1983. What they did last year, but Megadeth maybe made one of the best albums ever in their career, and that's just amazing for a band.
and then it's all I could credit for Dave, because
Yeah,
he came with the songs, and I really think Dave has this beautiful thing that has the passion to keep creating art. There's a lot of artists, like from the 80s or even before, they kind of keep repeating themselves and they don't move forward. And Dave has this energy to like, I want to create something. And then if the lineup changed, he doesn't, he keep doing it. Of course, during the shows, we're playing like 6 songs of the new album,
yeah,
you know?
which is
It's like,
also incredible.
it's incredible because tell me a band from the same time, any or in any style,
Oh,
that
there's
would
none.
be
There's none.
that's not never that
The
would be
the
playing the third of the whole concert is the new album. So, and the people sing along and people know the song, and we are excited to play the new songs.
And they're
So that's
staying
something
for the
amazing.
songs. That's what's amazing, because new songs are, in other words, a pee break. You go, oh, they're playing a new song, I'm going to go pee. But
Yeah, yeah.
not with Megadeth. The
No, no,
fans
yeah.
are loving it, and
And
it's
asking for more. And actually, when it started the tour, we were not playing many, and then we were rehearsing, adding songs, and they were like feeling that, wow, people, they like it.
yeah,
Let's add more, add more, add more, to the point that we did 5 songs, and now we added Conquer or Die, which is like basically a guitar solo, and we are ready to add more if necessary,
right. The
And
Dystopia album tour is coming, where you play the whole thing from top to bottom.
why not?
Yeah,
Because the fans like it, and it's amazing feeling for everybody. I know the fans love that, the real diehard fans, because it shows the band is really alive. It's not like repeating themselves or something. It's like really alive, creating new things, not afraid to create new things, which is great. Because it's something that it is difficult for an artist. I
to
can
stay
talk about
relevant.
to stay relevant
Yeah,
and never lose the innocence that you had in the beginning. Like, I want to be the greatest band in the world kind of thing when you're like very young. And I'm gonna do this show. I'm gonna kill it. It's gonna be great. And then after you do it many times, probably like when you're married for like 50 years old or 50 years or something. And then many times you kind of lose the interest a little bit, maybe just go there and that's my job. But it's not what happens here. We are every night very excited to playing new songs and maybe adding new songs and respecting. We were like playing Radiohead as well. So we're like going back to Killing Is My Business and adding an old song and adding a new song. So that's a beautiful thing that Dave and David, they have, because they keep moving forward and being creative, not afraid to propose new things. And
yeah,
it's not easy because you lose. It's normal. You lose the innocence that you had in the beginning, because then all the music business. You know how it works. The fans in the end, they want to listen, to the hits. You know, and then but you don't want to let them control what you want to do. So it's a collaboration. The fans has all the right to demand some songs, but you want to propose stuff as well. And then is the beauty of a relationship with the artists and the fans.
Meeting somewhere, and it's easy for a band like Megadeth to just live on the legacy. I mean, they throw the name up on the marquee, the tickets will sell anyway, but that's not enough for Dave. He has to create and move forward, and that's very admirable and very respectable. I had more questions about Tarja, My Winter Storm, and some of the other stuff, but I do have a interview with Michael Sweet of Striper, and but hopefully we can do a part 2 at some point, because this has been absolutely fascinating and a pleasure, actually. Great pleasure.
My pleasure's mine anytime, and
Yeah, and hopefully we'll see you in Montreal soon, because I couldn't make it to the Quebec City show, but we got to do Montreal soon. That'll be great.
For sure. Yeah, let's hope.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm here. You have my contact anytime. I'm no problem. We can have a second part of this conversation.
Thank you. Great pleasure, and great work with Megadeth, and I certainly hope you get to stay with them for the next 10 or 15 years, if not more. Because hey,
all right,
it worked out well. Can't complain. The results are great.
Yeah.
Thank you,
I agree.
Kiko.
I'm happy. Okay, man. Thanks
Cheers.
a lot.
Bye-bye now.
Cheers, man. Bye-bye.
And there you have it, folks, my extensive interview with Kiko from the band Megadeth. The new album is Dystopia. Certainly worth checking out if you haven't already picked it up. And with that, thank you for listening. Please check me out on Twitter at Mitch Lafon, MITCHLAFON, and on Facebook, one-on-one Mitch Lafon. Bye for now. Oh, my.